Terran moved slowly across the quiet battlefield, stepping over broken metal plates and burned cables. The air was still as if the whole field was holding its breath. There were no sounds of engines, no signals, no voices. Only a thin fog drifted above the ground, glowing softly from bits of leftover energy. Terran had been sent to check for survivors, even though everyone said there would be none. Still, he walked carefully, using a small scanner and his own eyes to look for anything alive. He was a young human engineer, not a soldier. His job was to fix machines, not search empty battle zones. But he never refused an order, and he always hoped to find someone or something that needed help. He moved quietly, almost gently, as if afraid to disturb the silence around him. As he walked past a fallen alien transport, he heard something very soft, very faint. At first, he thought it was just a loose piece of metal shifting in the wind. But then he heard it again. A very low, slow mechanical breath. It did not sound like a machine. It sounded almost alive. Terran froze. He tilted his head, listening carefully. The sound came again, a little stronger this time. He followed it, stepping carefully around the wreckage. The ground sloped downward and the fog thickened slightly. There, half buried under a collapsed metal beam, he saw something large, something shaped like a creature. It was a war dog. Terran recognized it from training images. The alien army used mechanical war dogs, huge beasts with metal armor, glowing eyes and built-in sensors. They were fast, loyal, and powerful. No one dared go near them unless they were deactivated. But this one was still alive. Its sides rose weakly, each breath sounding strained and painful. One of its front legs twitched, but the rest of its body was pinned. Terran slowly crouched, keeping his hands open so the creature could see his movements. The war dog's eyes flickered, bright red lights blinking in confusion. It growled softly, but the sound was weak, not threatening. The creature was hurt and exhausted. "You're alive," Terran whispered, even though he knew the war dog could not understand human words. Still, speaking helped him stay calm. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." The creature shifted, the metal beam scraping against its armor. Terran winced at the sound. The dog growled again, louder this time, but the sound ended in a sharp cough. Sparks flickered from a broken panel in its shoulder. It was not a simple machine. It was half organic, half mechanical, designed to feel, respond, and even think. Abandoning it was cruel. Terran glanced around. No alien soldiers. No signals. No tracks leading back to the dog. It looked like they had left it behind on purpose. He stepped closer, slowly. The war dog's eyes followed him, glowing with fear and confusion. It growled once more, but there was no strength behind it. "I'm not here to hurt you," Terran said again. "Let me help." His scanner flashed red, showing heat readings and energy leaks. The dog would not survive much longer if he did nothing. Terran placed his hand gently on the metal beam. It was heavy but not impossible to move. He pushed with all his strength, gritting his teeth as the beam groaned and shifted. The dog tensed, ready to snap or bite, but then relaxed when it realized he was freeing it. With one last push, Terran pulled the beam aside. The dog let out a shaky breath. Its legs twitched and it tried to stand, but its body gave out, collapsing again in the dirt. Terran quickly knelt beside it. "You're hurt all over," he murmured. "But you're not broken. I think I can fix you at least enough to move." The war dog's red eyes dimmed, blinking slowly. It seemed to be studying him, unsure whether he was a threat or a friend. Terran reached into his repair kit, pulling out a small stabilizer. He carefully attached it to the dog's broken armor, sealing a leaking energy line. The dog jerked in surprise, but then relaxed as the stabilizer took effect. "There you go," Terran said softly. "You're going to be okay. I just need to get you back to camp." At the word camp, the dog's ears twitched, metal plates shifting slightly. It understood something, maybe not the word but the tone. Terran slowly stood and tried to lift the creature's front half. It was heavy, heavier than anything he had ever tried to carry. He strained, muscles shaking, but kept going. The dog, seeing his effort, tried to help. It pushed weakly with its legs, giving Terran enough support to pull it free from the rubble. Together, slowly and painfully, they managed to get it out into the open. Terran wiped sweat from his forehead. He gently touched the dog's armor again. "You're strong," he said. "Stronger than me. But you don't have to do this alone." The war dog's eyes blinked again. The red glow softened, almost like it understood. Terran tapped his communicator. "I found something," he said. "It's alive. I'm bringing it in." Static crackled on the other end. "A survivor? Human or alien?" "Neither," Terran answered. "It's a war dog." There was a long pause. Then the voice replied, "Be careful, engineer. Those things are dangerous." Terran looked at the creature lying beside him, broken and abandoned. "It won't hurt me," he said quietly. "And I won't hurt it." The war dog made a soft, low sound, something between a hum and a sigh. Slowly, carefully, Terran began guiding it across the field, one step at a time. The fog swirled around them, the battlefield fading behind them with every slow movement. For the first time since the battle ended, Terran did not feel alone. And for the first time in its life, the war dog felt something strange, something calm, something safe. It followed him not because of programming but because it chose to. Together, they walked toward the human camp, two survivors who were never meant to meet, but who found each other in the quietest part of the battlefield. Terran guided the war dog slowly across the quiet field until the tall steel walls of the human camp came into sight. Guards on the towers spotted him and raised their scanners immediately. No one expected a human engineer to return with a living alien war machine beside him. Alarms did not sound, but the guards whispered in tense voices, watching every step the creature took. Its metal paws dragged slightly, leaving lines in the dirt. When Terran finally reached the gate, a group of soldiers rushed out. Some pointed their rifles while others simply stared with wide eyes. The war dog tensed, lowering its head as if preparing for another attack. Its eyes flickered in warning, though its body was too weak to take action. "Stand down," Terran said quickly, raising his hands. "It's hurt. It's not here to fight." One soldier shook his head. "Terran, that thing is a war beast. They train them to attack anything that moves. Why bring it here?" "Because it was left behind," Terran answered. "Because it's alive. And because we shouldn't leave it to suffer." His voice was calm, but his hands trembled slightly. He knew the soldiers were scared. He was scared too. But he could not walk away from a creature that had no one else. The commander stepped forward. He was older, with sharp eyes and a tired expression. He studied the war dog carefully. "Is it stable?" he asked. Terran nodded. "For now. But it needs repairs. And rest. And maybe some kindness." The commander hesitated, then motioned toward the medical bay. "Bring it inside but keep your distance. If it shows any danger we will remove it." Terran nodded again. He walked forward slowly and the war dog followed, though its steps were shaky. The soldiers kept their rifles ready, watching its every movement. Inside the camp, everything smelled of metal, oil, and warm engines. The war dog sniffed the air, confused. It had only known alien camps, bright, cold, and loud. This place was smaller, humbler, but strangely peaceful. Humans walked quickly, talking softly. Machines hummed. Lights glowed warm yellow instead of harsh blue. Terran guided the creature into a large maintenance room. Tools lined the walls and spare parts were scattered across tables. It was the first place he felt the dog might be safe. Safe enough to rest, safe enough to breathe. The war dog stepped inside but stopped at the entrance, crouching low. Its metal body shivered slightly. It did not trust this space yet. It did not trust anyone. Terran knelt beside it. "It's okay," he said. "This is just a workshop. No one will hurt you here." The dog's eyes blinked slowly. The red glow dimmed, then brightened again. A low rumble came from its chest, not a growl but something uncertain. Terran fetched a container of energy paste. "This is food," he said, placing it near the creature. "You need it? You're weak." The war dog stared at the container, sniffed it, then turned its head away. Terran understood. It did not trust the food. It did not trust the place. It did not trust him, not fully. He sat down on the floor across from it, leaving space between them. Hours passed quietly. The dog watched him, never taking its eyes off him. It studied his movements, his breathing, even the way he tapped his fingers on his knee when he got bored. Terran did not try to touch it again. He simply stayed. Sometimes he hummed a soft tune. Sometimes he whispered simple words. Sometimes he stayed silent, letting the creature feel the calm around him. The war dog seemed confused by this behavior. No human had ever sat quietly near it before. Eventually the dog shifted slightly, inching toward the food. It sniffed it again, then looked at Terran. He nodded gently, encouraging it. After a long moment, the dog reached out and tasted the energy paste. Its eyes widened in surprise. It was warm, gentle on its damaged circuits, and nothing like the harsh fuel it had known. Terran smiled. "Good," he said softly. "Eat more. You'll feel better." The dog ate slowly, cautiously, but it kept going. Terran let out a quiet breath of relief. The next challenge came when he tried to repair its armor. As soon as Terran touched a loose panel, the war dog jerked away, growling anxiously. It pressed itself against the wall, claws digging into the metal floor. "I'm not hurting you," Terran whispered. "I'm trying to fix you." The dog didn't understand. It only felt fear. All its life, hands that touched it were hands that commanded it, restrained it, or forced upgrades onto it. It had never been repaired gently. Never been treated like a living creature. Terran placed his tools down and backed away. "Okay," he said calmly. "Not now. I'll wait." And he did. It took days for the war dog to trust his hands. Each day, Terran would sit near it, open his kit, and fix something harmless in front of it: a drone, a communicator, a bent panel. He made sure the dog saw everything. He wanted it to learn that tools could help, not just harm. Slowly the dog relaxed. One day, when Terran reached for a broken sensor near its head, the dog stayed still. Its eyes followed the movement, but it did not snap or retreat. Terran's touch was gentle, almost soft. He tightened a bolt, replaced a cracked plate, and cleaned a circuit. "You're doing great," he said. The dog let out a low hum. Not a growl. Not a warning. Something like trust, small but growing. Meanwhile, humans around the camp began to whisper. Some were still scared. Others were curious. A few approached the workshop, peeking inside. When they saw the war dog, they stayed far away. But when they saw Terran sitting calmly beside it, they were surprised. No one understood how he had made progress. But they admired him for it. One evening, as Terran cleaned the dog's damaged leg, it did something unexpected. It gently rested its metal head near his feet. Not fully touching, but close enough to show a different kind of fear. Not fear of him, but fear of being alone. Terran looked into its glowing eyes. "You're safe now," he said. "You're not alone. I promise." The war dog blinked once, slowly, as if accepting his promise. And for the first time since the battlefield, it slept. Terran woke early, long before the rest of the camp, and walked quietly toward the workshop. The sun had barely risen, and thin light stretched across the metal floors. He wanted to check the war dog before the soldiers started their morning patrols. Every day he worried about the same thing, that something might have frightened the creature during the night, or that it might have shut down again from damage he had not yet found. When he stepped inside, he saw the war dog lying in the corner, exactly where he had left it. Its eyes glowed faint and soft, not the sharp red he had first seen. It lifted its head when Terran entered, the movement slow but calm. "You're awake," Terran said gently. "Good. That means your core is stabilizing." The war dog blinked, a small reaction but enough to make Terran smile. He sat beside it, not too close but close enough for the creature to know he was there. Over the past days, something had started growing between them. It wasn't simple trust, not fully. It was something quieter and deeper, something like a bond. Terran always spoke to the dog even though he knew it didn't understand every word. Maybe it understood the tone. Maybe it understood the calm. Maybe it just understood that Terran never raised a hand or gave a harsh command. So every morning Terran talked. "Your leg looks better today," he said softly. "Still not perfect, but I think we're getting there." The war dog shifted slightly, lifting its injured leg a little. It wanted to show him it was improving. Terran laughed quietly. "You're trying," he said. "Good." As he started checking the creature's armor, the camp outside began to wake. Boots marched on metal walkways. Voices carried across the yard. Some soldiers paused outside the workshop door, whispering to each other. "Is that the alien dog? Still alive? Why is the engineer helping it? Shouldn't we shut it down?" The war dog tensed at the voices, its ears twitched and its claws dug into the floor. Terran placed his hand gently on its shoulder, not to restrain it but to comfort it. "They won't hurt you," he said softly. "As long as I'm here, they won't." The dog slowly relaxed, lowering its head again. It surprised Terran how quickly the creature had started reacting to his voice, his movements, and even his presence. At first it had been only fear. Now it was something like loyalty. The dog waited for him each morning. It ate only when he was near. It let him fix the broken parts only when he spoke gently. The bond grew stronger the day Terran tried something new. He wanted to test the dog's sensors, to make sure its vision and hearing weren't failing. He walked to the far side of the room and tapped his fingers softly against a table. The war dog's head turned instantly, eyes focusing on the sound. "Good," Terran called. "Very good." Then he stepped to another corner and made the same sound. The dog turned again, faster this time. Its tail, a long metal extension, twitched slightly. "You're getting your strength back," Terran said. The dog stood for the first time without stumbling. His legs shook but it stayed upright. Terran felt something tighten in his chest. He wasn't sure if it was pride, relief, or something else entirely. When he approached, the dog lowered its head slightly, almost like a nod. "You're greeting me?" Terran whispered. "Is that what you're doing?" The dog blinked again, slow and gentle. Terran reached out very carefully. He touched the side of the dog's head. It didn't pull away this time. It didn't growl. It didn't twitch. It stayed still, accepting the touch. That moment changed everything. From then on, the dog followed Terran everywhere inside the workshop. When he sat, it lay beside him. When he walked, it took slow steps behind him. It no longer pushed itself against walls. It no longer looked at the door as if waiting for someone else to appear. It watched only Terran. One afternoon, while Terran repaired its back panel, the war dog did something unexpected. It gently nudged him with its head. Not hard, not dangerous. Just a soft push as if thanking him. Terran froze in surprise. "Hey," he said softly. "What was that?" The dog nudged him again, softer this time. Terran smiled and lightly tapped the top of its head. "You're welcome," he whispered. The commander visited the workshop that evening. He watched the interaction quietly before speaking. "You've done something no one has ever tried," he told Terran. "You gained the trust of a war beast." Terran looked at the dog beside him. "It's not a beast," he said. "Just scared." The commander nodded slowly. "Maybe you're right. But understand this, it follows you. Only you. And that bond might become important." Important? Terran wasn't sure what that meant. But he did know one thing. The dog had chosen to trust him, not because of programming, not because of orders, but because Terran had shown it kindness it had never known. That night, the dog rested beside him while he worked on a small device. Its breathing was calmer now, steady and peaceful. Terran reached out a hand, and the dog placed its metal head gently against his palm. For the first time, the creature allowed itself to feel safe. For the first time, Terran realized he wasn't just repairing a machine. He was earning a friend. The dust storm rolled over the empty battlefield as the sun dipped behind the ruined hills. Talon stood at the edge of the human camp, his metal paws sinking slightly into the soft ground. His sensors picked up the faint hum of generators, the distant voices of soldiers, and the quiet rhythm of Elias's breathing beside him. After weeks of repairs and trust, Talon now walked freely. But today was different. Today he had to return to the battlefield where everything had gone wrong. Elias walked beside him carrying a small pack. His face showed worry, even if he tried to hide it with a weak smile. He knew Talon needed this. He needed to see what was left behind. He needed to face it. When they reached the main road, a group of human soldiers waited. Some stared at Talon with nervousness, others with respect. No one questioned why he was going back. Everyone had heard the story, the war dog left to die, the humans who chose to save him, and the bond that had formed afterward. Captain Mira stepped forward. Her expression was calm, but her eyes held the same concern Elias had. "You sure about this?" she asked. Talon's response was simple. He lowered his head slightly, the way Elias had taught him. A gesture that meant yes. Elias placed a hand on Talon's shoulder. "I'll be with him." Mira nodded. "Stay alert. Enemy scouts have been seen near the ridge. We don't want surprises." The group moved out, Talon leading with steady steps. The destroyed field stretched far ahead, filled with cracked armor pieces, burned soil, and broken machines from both sides. Talon scanned the area. His memory played flashes. Running through smoke, hearing commands, hearing nothing, feeling the explosion, trying to crawl, waiting for an order that never came. Elias watched Talon closely. He could see the machine's posture stiffen. Talon wasn't just revisiting a place, he was revisiting a wound. They reached a half-buried metal plate. Talon stopped. His sensors recognized it instantly. That was where he had fallen. That was where he had shut down, believing his purpose was over. For a long moment, Talon did not move. Elias stepped forward and gently placed a hand on Talon's metal neck. "It's okay. You're not alone now." Talon turned his head slightly. His golden optic flickered softly, like a quiet breath. Behind them, the soldiers kept watch. The wind rustled through the debris, carrying faint metallic echoes. Then Talon lowered himself and touched the metal plate with one paw. He stayed there, silent, as if saying goodbye to a version of himself that had been left behind. But the moment didn't last. A sharp warning tone rang through Talon's sensors. "Movement. Fast. Multiple targets." Elias grabbed his rifle. "Talon." Talon rose quickly, posture shifting to defensive mode. He sent a quick alert through his built-in transmitter. The human soldiers reacted immediately, raising their weapons. Figures appeared on the ridge, Enemy scouts, moving with precision. Their armor glinted under the fading sunlight. Mira shouted, "Positions. Don't let them reach the camp." Talon stepped forward, standing between the humans and the approaching scouts. His metal tail moved slowly behind him, calculating range and angles. He knew this battlefield well. He knew how to protect now, not because of programming but because of choice. Elias shouted, "Talon, wait for orders." But Talon didn't charge. He held his ground, choosing a defensive stance. He was no longer a tool meant to rush into danger without thought. He had learned from the humans. He had learned patience. The enemy scouts hesitated when they saw Talon. They did not expect him to stand with humans. They knew war dogs like him were built to obey alien captains, not humans. Yet here he was. A soldier behind Elias whispered, "Is he protecting us?" Elias didn't look away from the ridge. "Yes. He's part of us now." The standoff stretched, heavy and tense. The enemy scouts tried to assess the situation. But seeing a war dog ready to defend humans made them rethink their approach. Slowly, carefully they retreated back over the hill. Silence returned. Talon relaxed his stance but kept scanning. Elias lowered his rifle, breathing out a long sigh. Mira approached, shaking her head. "I can't believe it." They backed off because of him. Elias smiled softly. "Because he's not what he used to be." Talon turned his head to Elias. The bond between them didn't need words. They stayed a little longer on the field. Talon took one final look at the metal plate. Then he stepped away from it and moved forward, leaving the past behind. Elias walked beside him, matching his pace. As they headed back toward the human base, Talon's sensors picked up the sounds of the camp. Life, voices, warmth. His new home. He had returned to the place of his fall not to relive the pain, but to prove something to himself. He was more than a machine. More than a weapon. He was a companion. A protector. And he walked forward with humans not because he was programmed to, but because he chose to. Back at the human camp, the sun had dipped low, painting the sky in shades of orange and violet. Talon followed Elias through the gate, moving carefully, scanning the surroundings but no longer tense. The battlefield behind them was quiet. The enemy had retreated. The humans were safe. But more importantly, Talon felt something new, acceptance. He was no longer just a machine left behind. He belonged here. Soldiers gathered around, whispering in amazement. Some approached slowly, hesitant. Others stayed back, unsure. They had heard the story of the human engineer who had rescued the war dog, but seeing Talon now, alive and calm, was something else entirely. Elias stepped forward, keeping close to Talon's side. "This is Talon," Elias said. "He's not a threat. He's a survivor like us. And he's part of our team now." A few soldiers hesitated, then nodded, slowly understanding. Talon lowered his head in a gentle gesture, acknowledging the humans. His red sensors glowed softly, not sharp and warning like before. This was the first time they had seen him calm around so many people. The commander approached, his eyes scanning Talon from head to tail. "So, the machine left for dead, now chooses humans over its creators?" Elias nodded. "It does. Because we showed it kindness. Because we helped it when no one else would." The commander was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "It's a remarkable thing. The courage to help even an enemy, or something that was an enemy. That's what sets humans apart." Talon's gaze followed Elias as they walked to the repair station. Though his systems were stable, some parts still needed work. Elias knelt beside him, opening the maintenance panel along Talon's back. The war dog shifted slightly, allowing the engineer to access the circuits and servos that had been damaged in battle. "You're going to be stronger soon," Elias said. "Not just fixed but better. You'll be able to move faster, react quicker and still stay calm." Talon hummed softly, the mechanical sound blending with the hum of the camp. He seemed to understand. He wasn't just being repaired, he was being trusted, cared for and accepted. He had learned patience and now he learned what it meant to belong. That evening as the camp settled, Talon followed Elias to a quiet corner. He lay down, resting his metal head on the ground. For the first time he didn't need to scan for danger or plan every movement. Humans had given him safety and in return he had given them loyalty. A group of young soldiers gathered nearby, curious about the war dog. They whispered questions, watched from a distance and then slowly approached. Elias gave them a small smile. "Go on," he said. "See him. He won't hurt you." Talon's head lifted slightly. He watched them approach carefully, blinking softly. The soldiers reached out one by one, touching his armored side. Talon didn't react violently. He allowed it. He even nudged one of the smaller soldiers gently, a sign of trust. Laughter and quiet amazement spread through the group. "You're incredible," one of them whispered. "I can't believe a human saved him and now he's helping us." Elias nodded. "That's what humans do. We help even when it's not easy. Even when it's dangerous. Even when no one else would." Night fell over the camp. The fires burned low and the stars appeared above. Talon stood silently beside Elias, gazing at the sky. For a long time no one spoke. The quiet was peaceful, not tense. The war dog and the human engineer shared a moment of calm, a bond forged through patience, care, and courage. The commander walked past, glancing at them. "This is something the galaxy doesn't understand about humans," he said quietly to himself. "We fight, we build, we survive, but we also show kindness. We show courage quietly. And sometimes, that courage changes everything." Elias turned to Talon. "Tomorrow," he said, "we'll start training. Not for war, not for battle, but to work together. To be ready for anything. You've got potential, Talon. And together we'll see just how far humans and their allies can go." Talon blinked, soft red lights glowing. He stepped closer, allowing Elias to touch his head again. The gesture was small, but it meant trust. It meant partnership. It meant they were a team. Over the following days, Talon became part of the human camp. He helped carry supplies, assisted in repairs, and even guided patrols through areas where his sensors were far superior to human vision. But he also rested, learned, and trusted. Soldiers who had once been fearful of him began to respect him, not as a weapon but as a companion. Word of his survival and loyalty spread beyond the camp. Nearby settlements and allied stations heard the story. A human saved an alien war dog abandoned on the battlefield. The dog chose to stay with humans. The tale inspired hope, reminding everyone that courage was not always loud or violent. Sometimes it was quiet, patient, and compassionate. One evening, Elias and Talon stood at the edge of the camp, watching the horizon. The sky was painted in shades of blue and violet, and stars began to peek out. Talon lifted his head, scanning the distant lands. For the first time he did not see danger. He saw opportunity. He saw a future. "You did well, Talon," Elias said softly. "You trusted us and you chose to stay. That's bravery." The war dog blinked slowly, a mechanical hum vibrating in his chest. It was a sound of understanding, of acknowledgement. He had learned that humans' courage was different from any order or programming. It was quiet, deliberate, and strong. It was the kind of courage that could change lives. Elias placed a hand on Talon's head, feeling the smooth metal and cold warmth beneath. "We'll face more challenges," he said. "More battles. But we'll face them together. And the galaxy will see what humans are capable of." Talon stepped closer, nuzzling lightly against Elias. It was a small gesture, but it carried meaning. Trust, loyalty, partnership. Humans had chosen to help even when it was risky. And the war dog had chosen to follow, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. That night the camp slept quietly. Fires glowed softly, and the stars reflected off Talon's armor. Humans walked among their machines and companions, proud of what they had accomplished. Talon rested beside Elias, knowing he was no longer alone, no longer abandoned, no longer just a weapon. He was part of a family. And in that calm, in that quiet moment, the humans had shown their greatest strength. Courage not in shouting or fighting but in choosing to help, to care, and to believe in the value of life, even when it wasn't their own. The galaxy might not yet understand them fully, but it would never forget. Talon and Elias stood together as the first light of dawn stretched across the horizon. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight they had proven something simple, strong, and human. Compassion and quiet courage could survive anywhere, even on a battlefield abandoned to death. And for Talon, the alien war dog, it was the beginning of a new life, one chosen, shared, and filled with purpose.